Hot Diggity Dog. Would you look at this darling little dog from Simon Hurley, part of the whole Hot Diggity Dog set that I'm going to be demonstrating in the video coming up next. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I made this adorable little card. You got a little action wobble using Simon Hurley's new stamp set. And I put all my project stuff in one box so that I can find it. It's called Hot Diggity Dog. And you can also get separately the little die cuts that cut out all the dogs. So we're going to be using this dog today and a couple of baseballs. And then for our background, we're going to use this new stamp called Splatter. And you're probably asking yourself, well, what the heck? What do you do with that? I'm going to show you. So I'm going to start out with my background. Let's make sure I have the right paper. I have several papers in here. I'm looking for my Distress Heavy Stock right here. And I want heavy stock because I'm going to be heat embossing. Put all these things right in here, out of the way. Let's grab a piece of paper to catch my excess. And I'm just going to take this stamp out of the package and I'm going to lay it like so. Now, I don't want it to move on me, so I'm going to use a piece of media grip. And then I'm going to grab my Versamark ink. And I'm not going to bother with doing anti-static powder or anything. And I'm just going to lay my ink down. You can use any kind of sticky ink you want. You could use colored ink, pigment ink, whatever you have. I'm just getting this nice and saturated. And I'll be using Ranger's Pink Neon. So I'm just going to lay the card piece down on here. I'm going to take my little tool. I'm going to hold on to one side while I rub the other. Just to make sure I get full coverage. Okay, and then I'm going to hold my thumb here while I pull up. And of course you can't really see the embossing powder, but trust me, it's there. And then I'm going to take my white paper and I'm just going to pour embossing powder all over this. And we're going to be trimming this down too. But I want to make sure I get full coverage here. And at this point, I like to remove this piece because the embossing powder loves to stick to it. And so I can dump my embossing powder back in. Whoopsie. And I always spill. Okay, and this way I could easily wipe that away. Now to emboss this, I need to hold it with something. I've lost my little grippy hand thing from Ranger, but I do have just this little paperclip looking thing. And I'm not worried about one side of it because I'm going to be trimming it down quite a bit. So I'm going to hold it here and I'm going to heat emboss this. And you want to make sure your heat tool's hot, and I'll do this mostly off camera so you don't have to sit here and listen to the tool because I am doing this live voice versus voiceover. So I'm going to pause the video while I heat emboss this. I want to just show you that I am embossing this from the back side so I get a nice smooth embossed texture on there. Okay. Got that embossed, and you'll see while it's hot it's kind of a darker pink, but as it cools it goes into this lovely neon pink color. So I'm just going to set this aside so we can move on to the next part, which is making our little dog. So I'm going to grab my stamps and I'm going to grab out the dies I want to use, and they happen to be on top because I just made this card. Set those aside right there. Then I'm going to grab my little dog and baseball and my sentiments. So here's dog. Get that out of there. Here's baseball. Here's hot diggity dog. And here's hope you have a ball. So I'll move these over here. And I'm going to grab my mini Misty. Come here, you. I'm going to stamp these all out. Now, these are all going to get cut out, so it doesn't really matter. Just as long as you leave room for your, you know what I did with the piece of black card. This is Simon Hurley Stark White. I had a piece of black ready to go here too. Sorry about that. That's all right. We'll grab one. And I'm going to put dog here, and I'm going to heat emboss these as well. I'm going to put dog here, and I'm going to do 3 baseballs, but you can only do 1 at a time, so I want to make sure I have plenty of room. Then I'm going to take my little sentiments and place them down here. Let me flip this around so it's going the right way. And these, again, don't have to be straight, but you want to leave room because maybe you want to use a die cut to cut them out, or maybe you're going to hand cut them. Completely up to you. Now, I'm not going to be doing any coloring on these, so I'm not worried about using any static powder. That wants to move on me, so I'm going to grab one more magnet. And I'm going to be using my Gina K amalgam ink in Obsidian. And believe it or not, it heat embosses. And I'm going to grab my white or my clear embossing powder here. And then I'm just going to start stamping these down. I like to do 2 or 3 rounds, especially with the dog because he has a lot of black on him. I make sure it's good and saturated. And so this ink takes a little while to dry, which is a good thing because then you've got time to pour embossing powder over it. Okay, he's nice and dark. Now let's get everything all nice and wet. Okay, pull it out of my mini Misty if I can. Just move these aside. Grab my clear heat embossing powder and just coat them. Make sure they're fully coated. And I will also emboss these from the back side. Okay, I'm going to do that off camera. Okay, I'll be right back. I've got those done. Now I need to do the 2 other baseballs. So I've got this little, I forgot what it's called, but it's cool. Just gonna grab this little stamping acrylic and stamp a couple more baseballs and heat emboss them as well. I'll do that off camera, and I'm going to cut these out off camera. Right, now we've got all our components. Now we're just ready to put this card together. So I'm going to start out. I'm going to just kind of push these up to the side a little bit. And I ended up, I'm trying to move that S. I ended up cutting these out with some dies that I had on hand. You can certainly fussy cut them. So I'm going to trim this one down to 3 3/4. And I always trim from the bottom. I'm going to take a little bit off of each side. You know what, as a matter of fact, I think I'll go and take it off one side. I'm going to go 3 3/4 by 5. And I'm going to trim this piece of black cardstock down to just a little bit more than 3 3/4. So about in the halfway mark by a little bit more than 5. Again, about the halfway mark. Okay. And I've already got my white A2 card base, and that's a side folder. You can do a top folder on this one too if you want to. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this to this. Okay, now it's kind of hard to see. Let me put a little piece of paper under it so you can see. I'm going to glue this down to the black backer, and I'm going to use my art glitter glue because it dries fast. There's a ton of glues you can use. I like this one because of the quick drying time. You could use tape or, you know, Elmer's glue for all that matters. You just have to wait for it to dry and lay something heavy on it, where this one will just gives you just a couple seconds to move stuff around on there. Smooth the glue down. Turn it over and smooth it down. And pretty much it's dry by then. And I'm going to glue this down to my white card base. I think what I'll do here is I think I'll use one of these pink pieces and one of these black pieces to decorate the inside of the card. I don't think I'm going to stamp it. I'm just going to decorate. Because you don't know what the occasion is for this. It could be a party, a birthday. It could be, you know, a baseball card event, a baseball event. Could be anything. So do the sentiment later. That's what I generally will do. But I might as well use up these scrap pieces. And I can use the other ones on the envelope if I want to. There we go. And then we'll go ahead and glue this down. I don't know why I feel like I have to center it there, but I do. And get it as even as you can. Then we're going to take the Action Wobbler, and here's where I struggle, is getting the backers off of these doggone things. This is the clear side, so I want to do the not clear side first. And oh yeah, and I made a liar out of me. Gonna turn dog over. I want to fit this in. It doesn't quite fit there in the middle of his body, so I'm gonna fit it right here. And then I'm gonna remove the backer from the clear piece. So says me. And this is a small Action Wobbler. And then I like to put a little glue right in the, pretty much like that. And then I like to use my tweezers to set them down because I want them in the middle-ish. Right there. Little guy, boing. And then Hot Diggity Dog, I'm gonna pop up right up here. Hope you have a ball. It's gonna come down here, and then I'm gonna arrange the balls around him. So I've got my skinny foam strips from scrapbook.com. And I'm gonna use those for the sentiments. Make sure it's nice and straight. I did kind of got that crooked, but that's okay. It's fine. I'll just take a strip off, and I'll do 2 strips on this one. So I'm going to use a taller one for the bottom one, a taller foam tape. And then if I've got any left over, I just put it right back down on the little backer sheet, best I can. And then hope you have a ball. I'm going to pop up higher. I'm going to be using these guys. I have some larger ones. So they have a little bit more loft to them. Not a lot, just a little. I'll do 1, 2, and then I'm going to be popping up the little baseballs. One, 2, 3. All right. All right, here we go. I'm going to start with my hot Diggity Dog, pull the backer off, and I'm going to use a little bit of glue so that I know that I'm getting this on here straight. I need to refill my glue. And again, I like to use my tweezers because my big old hand kind of gets in the way. And I'm just sort of eyeballing. But you see, I have enough glue on here that I can move it for a second or so. I'm going to pull the backers off these guys. Make sure it's sort of in the center here. And then I'll do my little baseballs. And I'm going to have the baseballs just kind of surrounding fairly close to the dog. One right here, maybe even partially underneath him or her, whatever the case may be. And I'll have one. Come on. There we go. All right, here. Now I have to decide where I want it. I think right here. There we go. We've got our little hot Diggity Dog wobbler, action wobbler card that's decorated on the inside and ready to give for somebody that wants to have a lot of fun. So, just in recap, what we used here is we used Simon Hurley's Hot Diggity Dog brand new stamp set out for June. Love, love, love this. As soon as I saw it, I fell in love. Look at this little pug. Come on. What about this guy? These are just stinking adorable. And then I used the coordinating die set that is sold separately. It's S6 2014, made by Spellbinders. And then we use the Splatter Cling background rubber stamp. I hope you like this video. If you do, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. And I will leave a link to another video that you might enjoy at the end of the video. Thanks so much for coming. Bye-bye.